The history of Lisbon, from its origins to reconstruction. Lisbon, a city that carries the weight of centuries of history, dates back to times as ancient as civilization itself. It is believed that around 1200 BCE, the Phoenicians, renowned sailors and skilled merchants, were the first to establish a formal settlement in the region. Located at the mouth of the Tagus River, Lisbon was the perfect point for both maritime and land trade, connecting the Mediterranean to the Atlantic. The Phoenicians called this place Alis Ubbo, meaning safe harbor. Over time, Lisbon would become one of the most important trade centers in the ancient world. After the decline of the Phoenician Empire, other civilizations took control of the region. During the Roman period, which began in 205 BCE, the city was renamed Felicitas Julia in honor of Julius Caesar, who recognized its strategic value. Under Roman rule, Lisbon thrived not only as a trade center but also as a city of advanced infrastructure. Aqueducts, roads, and Roman theaters were built, many of which can still be seen today. The Roman Theater of Lisbon, whose ruins are open to visitors, is a living example of the cultural and architectural influence left by the Romans. During the Roman era, Lisbon flourished as a vital part of the empire, becoming a hub for exporting salt, olive oil, and wines, which were highly valuable commercial products. However, with the fall of the Roman Empire in the 5th century, the city entered a period of uncertainty. Various Germanic tribes, such as the Visigoths, took control of the city, and for over 300 years, Lisbon's importance dwindled. The city would only regain prominence with the arrival of the Moors in 711 CE. Muslim rule brought a cultural and economic renaissance to Lisbon. Under the Moors, the city was transformed into a thriving center of trade and culture. The Moors introduced new agricultural techniques, such as the cultivation of olive trees and vineyards, and made architectural improvements, building mosques and palaces that contrasted with the earlier Roman style. The Moorish influence can still be seen in the narrow, winding streets of Lisbon's older neighborhoods, such as Alfama, where the Islamic influence on the layout of the streets remains evident. However, Moorish Lisbon would be challenged in 1147 during the Second Crusade when Christian forces, led by Afonso I of Portugal, besieged and reconquered the city after a 4-month siege. Afonso I was supported by crusaders from across Europe to retake the city, marking a crucial moment in Lisbon's and Portugal's history. The Christian conquest ushered in a new phase of development, and in 1255, Lisbon was officially declared the capital of the Kingdom of Portugal by Afonso III. The following centuries solidified Lisbon's position as one of Europe's leading centers of power, especially during the Age of Discovery. The city, located on the Atlantic coast, became the launching point for great maritime expeditions that changed the course of history. It was from Lisbon that Vasco da Gama set sail in 1497 on his famous voyage to find the sea route to India, establishing a crucial trade link for the Portuguese Empire. During this period, Lisbon prospered, and its harbor was filled with ships bringing spices, gold, and other riches from Portugal's colonies in Africa, Asia, and South America. However, with increasing wealth came competition and conflict. Throughout the 15th and 16th centuries, Lisbon became a target for foreign powers, including pirates and privateers. Yet, despite external threats, the city continued to grow in wealth and influence. Palaces, monasteries, and monumental churches were built, and the city experienced a flourishing of arts, science, and culture. The architecture from this time reflects Portugal's power and pride, with unique styles like the Manuline, which blends late Gothic and Renaissance elements, visible in iconic structures such as the Belém Tower and the Jerónimos Monastery. But Lisbon's golden age faced a devastating blow on November 1, 1755, when one of the largest earthquakes in European history struck the city. The earthquake, which occurred on All Saints' Day, was followed by a massive tsunami that swept through the harbor and the city's lower areas. It is estimated that over 30,000 people died in the combined disasters, and much of the city was destroyed. The impact was so great that the earthquake was felt throughout Europe and even in North Africa. The response to the disaster was swift and decisive. The Marquis of Pombal, then Prime Minister of Portugal, led the reconstruction of Lisbon. He implemented a revolutionary reconstruction plan that included the creation of wide, straight streets and the introduction of new building techniques designed to withstand future earthquakes. The result was the creation of what is now known as the Baixa Pombalina, one of the first urban areas in the world to be designed with modern planning and earthquake resistance in mind. The neoclassical style of the buildings in the Baixa reflects the vision of a reborn Lisbon, a city rising from the ashes. This event also radically changed philosophy and thinking in Portugal. The 1755 earthquake was debated by Enlightenment philosophers across Europe, including Voltaire, who used the catastrophe to question divine justice in his work Candide. For Lisbon, it was a moment of deep reflection and reconstruction, both physically and spiritually. By the end of the 18th century, Lisbon had transformed itself. The city, shaped by both conquests and tragedies, was ready to continue its path as Portugal's political and cultural center. However, it would still face many challenges in the coming century, which would further define its resilient and innovative character. Culture, festivals, and Lisbon's role in world wars. Lisbon's cultural identity has been shaped by centuries of diverse influences, and today it remains one of the most vibrant cities in Europe. One of the most iconic expressions of Portuguese culture is fado music, which emerged in the early 19th century. Fado, meaning fate, is a genre characterized by melancholic tunes and lyrics often reflecting themes of longing, loss, and the complexities of the human condition. Fado was born in the working-class neighborhoods of Lisbon, particularly in Alfama and Mouraria, and it still thrives in those same areas today. The music is deeply emotional, often accompanied by the distinctive sound of the Portuguese guitar. In 2011, UNESCO recognized fado as part of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, cementing its place as a cornerstone of Lisbon's cultural landscape. In addition to fado, Lisbon celebrates a variety of cultural festivals throughout the year. One of the most significant is the Festas de Lisboa, held every June in honor of Saint Anthony, the city's patron saint. The festival is a month-long celebration, filling the streets of Lisbon with music, food, and parades. One of the most anticipated events is the procession dedicated to Saint Anthony, which winds through the city's old quarters. But the true heart of the festivities lies in the Bailes Populares, or street parties, where people gather in Alfama and other neighborhoods to dance, sing, and enjoy grilled sardines, a staple of the celebration. The Festas de Lisboa connect the city's modern residents to their historical roots, fostering a deep sense of community and tradition. However, Lisbon's cultural history is not only about music and festivals. The city has also played a crucial role during some of the most pivotal moments in modern history, particularly during World War II. Despite Portugal's official neutrality, Lisbon became a crucial transit hub for refugees fleeing the war-torn parts of Europe. Thousands of people, including Jews and other persecuted groups, passed through Lisbon on their way to safer destinations like the United States and South America. The port of Lisbon became a lifeline for those escaping Nazi-occupied territories. One of the most remarkable figures during this period was Aristides de Sousa Mendes, the Portuguese consul in Bordeaux, France. Defying the orders of his own government, which had instructed diplomats to limit the issuance of visas, Sousa Mendes provided visas to thousands of Jewish refugees, allowing them to pass through Portugal and find safety. His courageous actions are credited with saving over 30,000 lives, though he was later punished by the Portuguese regime for his defiance. Today, Sousa Mendes is remembered as one of Portugal's greatest heroes, and his story highlights the critical role that Lisbon played during this dark chapter of history. Beyond being a transit point for refugees, Lisbon was also a city of intrigue and espionage during the war. The city's neutral status made it a gathering place for spies from both the Allied and Axis powers. Lisbon's cafes, hotels, and casinos became the backdrop for covert meetings, information exchanges, and secret negotiations. The Palácio Estoril, located just outside Lisbon, was known to host spies and diplomats alike, and it is rumored that the British author Ian Fleming, creator of James Bond, drew inspiration from his time in Lisbon during the war. The city's role in World War II is a lesser-known but fascinating chapter in its history, illustrating how Lisbon's neutrality positioned it as a crossroads for intrigue and escape. As the war came to an end, Lisbon, having maintained its neutrality, emerged largely unscathed compared to many European capitals. This allowed the city to continue its cultural and economic activities, while other nations faced long periods of reconstruction. Lisbon's resilience during this period further cemented its reputation as a city that could weather the storms of history, both figuratively and literally. Another significant event in Lisbon's modern history is the Carnation Revolution, which took place on April 25, 1974. This peaceful military coup overthrew the Estado Novo regime, a dictatorship that had ruled Portugal for nearly 50 years. The revolution was named after the red carnations that revolutionaries placed in their rifles, symbolizing the bloodless nature of the coup. In Lisbon, this moment was particularly important because it marked the end of an era of repression and the beginning of modern democracy in Portugal. Today, April 25th is celebrated annually as Freedom Day, with Lisbon at the center of national celebrations. The streets of the city fill with people commemorating the revolution that brought an end to authoritarian rule and paved the way for democratic freedoms. In Lisbon's cultural calendar, there is no shortage of events and celebrations that link the city to its storied past while also looking toward the future. Whether it's through fado, festivals, or national holidays like Freedom Day, Lisbon continues to celebrate its rich heritage while embracing the challenges and opportunities of the present. Through the centuries, Lisbon's culture has been shaped by both its traditions and its responses to world events. The city remains a living testament to resilience, creativity, and a deep-rooted connection to its history. Yet, it is also a city that is constantly evolving, drawing on its past while building towards its future, with its vibrant culture continuing to be one of its most defining and attractive features. Landmarks and modern tourist attractions in Lisbon. Lisbon is not just a city with a rich history, it is also home to a wide array of historical landmarks and modern tourist attractions that tell the story of its evolution over centuries. As you walk through the streets of Lisbon today, you are surrounded by remnants of its past intertwined with the vibrancy of a modern European capital. Let's explore some of the most iconic sites that define the city's landscape and attract millions of visitors each year. One of the most famous landmarks is the Belém Tower, built in 1519 during the reign of King Manuel I. The tower was initially constructed as part of a defensive system to guard the entrance to Lisbon's harbor from potential invaders. Positioned at the edge of the Tagus River, the tower is an excellent example of Manueline architecture, a unique Portuguese style that combines Gothic, Renaissance, and Moorish elements. The intricate carvings on the stone facade, including representations of ropes, anchors, and the cross of the Order of Christ, are a testament to Portugal's maritime heritage. The tower was also a key point of departure for explorers like Vasco da Gama during the Age of Discovery, which made Portugal a dominant global power. Today, the Belém Tower is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a symbol of Lisbon's enduring connection to its seafaring past. Just a short distance away from the tower is another monumental site, the Jerónimos Monastery, which was completed in 1601. This stunning monastery was built to commemorate Vasco da Gama's successful voyage to India and is another masterpiece of Manueline architecture. The monastery houses the tombs of many significant Portuguese figures, including Vasco da Gama and the celebrated poet Luís de Camões, who chronicled the Age of Discovery in his epic poem Os Lusíadas. The elaborate detailing of the monastery's facade, with its maritime motifs and richly carved columns, reflects the wealth and power that Portugal amassed during this period. As a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Jerónimos Monastery is a must-see for any visitor to Lisbon, offering a window into the grandeur of Portugal's golden age. Another important site that embodies Lisbon's resilience and historical significance is the Praça do Comércio, also known as Terreiro do Paco. This grand square, located right on the Tagus River, was once the site of the royal palace before it was destroyed in the devastating earthquake of 1755. After the earthquake, the Marquis of Pombal led the reconstruction of the square, transforming it into one of the largest and most impressive open spaces in Europe. The square is surrounded by elegant neoclassical buildings, which now house government offices, restaurants, and shops. At its center stands a statue of King José I, who was the monarch at the time of the earthquake. The Praça do Comércio serves as a reminder of Lisbon's ability to rebuild and thrive after tragedy, and it remains a vibrant hub of activity, both for locals and tourists. Lisbon's defenses have also left their mark on the city's landscape. During the Napoleonic Wars, Lisbon faced the threat of French invasion. To protect the city, a series of fortifications known as the Lines of Torres Vedras were built between 1809 and 1811 under the supervision of British engineer Sir Richard Fletcher, with guidance from the Duke of Wellington. These defensive lines, stretching across the hills north of Lisbon, played a crucial role in repelling the French forces and protecting Portugal's independence. The lines, made up of forts, redoubts, and trenches, effectively stopped the French advance and were one of the reasons Lisbon remained unoccupied during the Napoleonic Wars. Today, parts of these fortifications can still be visited, offering a fascinating glimpse into the city's military past and its strategic importance in European conflicts. For a deeper exploration of Portugal's royal history, visitors can head to the Ajuda National Palace, which became the official residence of the royal family after the 1755 earthquake destroyed the previous palace. The palace was initially built in the late 18th century but was left unfinished for many years due to financial constraints. It wasn't until the mid-19th century that the palace was completed, and it became the residence of Queen Maria II and subsequent monarchs. The Ajuda Palace is now a museum, showcasing the lavish interiors and the royal collections of decorative arts, including furniture, tapestries, and porcelain. The palace offers a glimpse into the opulence of the Portuguese monarchy and the lives of the royals who once called it home. Visitors can also enjoy stunning views of the Tagus River from the palace's gardens. Another fascinating historical site is the British Cemetery in Lisbon, located near the Basilica da Estrela. This cemetery was established in the 18th century to provide a burial place for the city's British Protestant residents, who were not allowed to be buried in Catholic cemeteries at the time. During the Napoleonic Wars, the cemetery became the final resting place for British soldiers who fought alongside the Portuguese to defend Lisbon from the French. The British Cemetery is a quiet, reflective space where visitors can pay their respects to the soldiers who fought and died in defense of Portugal. It also serves as a symbol of the strong military alliance between Portugal and the United Kingdom during the Peninsular War. Lisbon's historical significance is also reflected in its modern institutions, such as the National Museum of Ancient Art, which houses one of the most important collections of European and Asian art in Portugal. The museum is located in a former palace that survived the 1755 earthquake, and its collection includes works from the Age of Discovery, showcasing the cultural exchange between Portugal and its colonies. The National Museum is a treasure trove of paintings, sculptures, and decorative arts that reflect Lisbon's role as a global hub during the height of Portugal's empire. Today, Lisbon continues to evolve, blending its rich history with the vibrancy of a modern city. Visitors can enjoy the lively atmosphere of Rua Augusta, a bustling pedestrian street that runs through the heart of the Baixa district. Lined with shops, cafes, and restaurants, Rua Augusta leads to the iconic Arco de Rua Augusta, a triumphal arch that offers panoramic views of the city. As you stand atop the arch, you can see the contrast between Lisbon's historic architecture and its modern developments, a testament to the city's ability to honor its past while embracing the future.